Bonus TVguest.com training report. 10 ways to improve your interview skills right now for TV, radio, podcast, and other show interviews. When it comes to marketing and getting exposure for your business, the more interviews you can give to website owners, podcast shows, magazines, newspapers, e-zine, newsletter publishers, social media influencers, YouTube video channel owners, radio talk show hosts, TV talk show hosts, you name it, the better it will be for you, your career, your business, your bank account, and your interviewing skills. When it comes to giving those interviews and being interviewed, you must be ready. How do you prepare? Simple. Follow these 10 easy ways to improve your interview skills, and you'll be ready to approach and secure all the interviews you can get. So here we go. 10 ways to improve your interview skills right now. Interview tip number 1. Closely listen to other people being interviewed on the radio, online, TV, YouTube, and listen to what's asked of them and how they respond. Listen and watch for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yes, actively listen to people who are interviewed on the radio, online, on podcast shows, TV shows, etc. Listen and learn. The more you hear other interviewees, the more you'll learn and the more comfortable you'll feel when it's your turn to get behind the microphone for an interview. Listen to short and long interviews and play along with the host as if you're the one being interviewed. To prepare for short and long interviews, have a list of 6 to 12 questions, or even a longer list, like 24 or 48 questions, so you're prepared for any length of interview, short and long. Can you learn anything from how others respond to their interviews? Absolutely. Are you prepared? To the degree they perform in front of the microphone or camera, you too need to match their performance and even excel beyond it. Interviewing is a performance. Don't forget that. You are providing the entertainment when you're interviewed. So you too have to connect with the audience and not just the person interviewing you. Give them great answers, a smile, laughter, the real you, and something to remember you by. You're the guest of honor on their show, so get excited. What do people who get interviewed say? How do they say it? How do they respond? Do they appear nervous, uneasy, uncomfortable, pressured, angered by the interviewer, or maybe another TV guest? Are they excited, happy? Do not allow the interviewer to agitate you or make you angry. Keep your head, keep your cool throughout the interview. Never raise your voice, never shout, and never talk over other guests or the host, and never, ever, 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 ever lose your cool. Stay calm throughout, even if you don't get the chance to speak, because there are other guests who may be losing control. Don't let that be you. It's better not to get excited and, antsy and, I didn't get to respond. Don't let that be you. Show the mature side of you and always keep your cool. After the interview is over, what will people walk away knowing? They saw that you were in control while others possibly were not. No matter what your position is on a topic, people will respect people who are always in control of their emotions. Keep calm always. You'll make more inroads when you can manage your emotions and remain calm under pressure. Notice how others come across. Do they sound or look good or bad? You might only be on the air for 5 minutes, maybe 3, maybe longer. Doesn't matter. Give your best performance and you'll be remembered for how you composed yourself, your quick, intelligent responses, your positive energy, and your smile. Learn from others. And don't repeat the bad, but only the good. Seriously, if you see someone say something you thought about saying, or could see yourself saying, but you saw the host and or how the audience reacted negatively to it, don't say it. Strike it off your can't say list when giving interviews, or reword it so it leaves a positive impression rather than a negative one. You see, sometimes you can pick up certain catchphrases or sound bites listening to others being interviewed, which you can then use in your own interviews. Listen to others being interviewed also educates you on a variety of topics and subjects. Watching and learning can turn you into a great interviewee and TV guest. Interview tip number 2. Listen to the host or person conducting the interview, asking all the questions for these tips. You can learn a lot about the interviewing process by listening to the host and on a number of different shows and their interview styles. How do they introduce guests, run their shows, ask questions, transition to breaks for ads, bring back the show and the interviewee, you, into the conversation again? If you are going to be on a particular show or would like to be interviewed on a specific show, here's a great tip to ensure your success for, number 1, getting it, the interview, and number 2, being interviewed on the show. Are you ready? All right. Listen to 10 plus past shows where they interviewed a guest so you can learn more about the host's style for interviewing guests. When you can get a feel for that host and how they operate, you can better help them to interview you. Get familiar with different style formats. Single guest, you, multiple guests, multiple hosts, etc. By doing this, you'll get comfortable with different formats and won't be surprised by any of them. Listen to a variety of interviews to get comfortable with these formats. Study them and master them. Specifically, how are they asking questions? Are they friendly or are they antagonistic and likely to try to produce or generate some form of controversy with you to help boost their show's ratings? Yeah, I've seen that before and I don't like it. Choose ahead of time if you'd like to be interviewed in a positive light, or if you're strong enough to go into the jungle and be interviewed by someone only interested in boosting their ratings by placing you on the spot and in hot situations that might only agitate you and not really bring out the best in you for their audience, let alone the truth or the real story. Why take on a tough interview like that? Maybe for exposure or to set the record straight. If you have something to say about a certain topic, pass on those negative comments and only take on positive interviews. It's all up to you. Your press room, your media room on your website. Well, thank you for keeping your cool. Be prepared, in general, to be interviewed by all kinds of people. Imagine yourself being interviewed by a particular host, and that's okay. But how would you respond to their questions? And practice how you'd respond to pressing questions or comments that push your buttons by an interview host who, like I said, wants to agitate you a little bit. So practice in both of those scenarios, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Something else. Interview tip number 3. Watch others being interviewed on TV and on the internet, and often. What can you learn by watching other people's interviews? A lot. You learn what to wear, what not to wear, how to respond and how not to respond, how to sit, stand, and how not to, among other attributes to giving live, in-person, video-recorded interviews for television or distribution over the internet. Watch how the person being interviewed composes themselves physically. Do they lean forward? Do they sway side to side when responding to questions? Or do they close their eyes when answering them? Watch their body language. When it comes to your eyes, keep them open and on target, looking at the host or the camera or the audience from time to time, but be mindful of your posture when giving answers. How you hold yourself together can be interpreted as not being truthful or sincere, and people may not believe or respect you when you answer such uncomfortable questions. If your body is swaying or your eyes keep blinking or you kind of look away, no. Are the guests groomed well? Honestly, if you're ever interviewed on television or other video outlet, look your best. Look sharp, well-groomed, well-rested. Don't go in looking tired. It's hard to look relaxed when you're nervous, so dress for success, as they say. If you must, get help with your attire, but always look your very best. Before you even open your mouth, people will judge you based on your image and how you carry yourself on screen and in front of an audience. Interview tip number 4. Record your interviews, listen to them, and learn from them. Absolutely. Record all your interviews and post them on your websites, press room, on your websites, blog, social media channels, video channels, and more. After the interview, edit some of the front and the back end of the audio and the video if you can, so that your listeners get the meat right away. Feel free to edit out the commercials too. I do. There are a number of services and phone apps and software programs that you can use to also record these interviews. You can also ask the host to give you the name of the producer to see if they'll give you a copy of the interview, either MP3 or MP4 download. Are they going to post it on YouTube? What are they going to do? If you're going to be interviewed live in front of a video camera for a live televised show, know the date it will air and get ready to record it if you can, if you've got the means. Otherwise, many shows do air online eventually, and you can simply look for the embed code if they provide such, so you can place it on your website or on social media channels, etc. When you record every interview, you can listen to them and you can learn from them. What did you say that you won't ever say again? What did you say that you really liked and you'll use in future interviews? Write those things down, make notes, make every interview from this point forward your very best, because you listened to it, as cringeworthy as you might think. Oh, I don't want to listen to myself. No, you got to. You got to. At least for the first 5. After you get this stuff down, it's pretty good. But if there was ever something, like I said, if there was something you said that was brilliant. Oh, I don't know where I came up with that, how I said such and such. That was brilliant. I'm going to go back and watch or listen to that interview, and I'm going to write that down because I want to repeat that in future interviews. So interview tip number 4, record your own interviews, or they will. Watch or listen to them and learn from them. Interview tip number 5, know your topic inside and out and be excited about telling your story. When you know your topic of expertise or your story inside and out, you interview well because you have a ton of information that you can turn into answers at every corner or every question of the interview. Be able to introduce yourself, what you do, and your topic in short, concise sentences, and your topic in short, concise answers. Yes, well, I do, fill in the blank, and help, fill in the blank, so they, fill in the blank. Also, read everything you can get your hands on about your topic of expertise. Watch videos, whatever, it doesn't matter. Always be continually learning and gaining new insights, facts, figures, etc., which you can then use in your interviews. Attend seminars, lectures, and workshops on your topic of expertise. Again, keep information on your topic fresh so people look forward to your interviews. Become an expert in your field. I know you already are, but become more of an expert. The more you know about your topic of expertise, the more interviews you can get confidently. See how that works? Also, write out about 5 to 10 questions and their answers, and then print them so you can read them over and over again, no matter where you're at. Definitely keep them on your phone, maybe in a Google Doc, and refer to them often. You could also record the questions and your answers, and then listen to the questions and the answers that you provide over and over. For a longer interview, write out 10 to 20 questions and their answers. Again, print this stuff out. Print out the questions and the answers and practice. Have you ever listened to speakers who, for all appearances, didn't know what they were talking about? Be prepared, rehearsed, and know your subject inside and out. That's interview tip number 5. Interview tip number 6. Don't talk on and on, even though you are asked a question that requires a long, detailed answer. When asked a question, give a quick yet detailed response. Don't overdo it with fact after fact after fact after fact after fact after fact. Remember, there are 2 people in this interview, you and the host. It's a two-way street, and you need to allow the interviewer to ask more questions. This doesn't mean one-word answers either, of course. Never respond with just a yes or a no. Add a little something to that yes or no response. Yes, because if you, and then keep it short. Always remember, the interviewer wants to get as much information as possible for the benefit of his or her audience. The interviewer won't ask you 2 questions and then give you the microphone for the rest of the show. Now, The show belongs to them, the host, and the audience. They ask the questions, you answer them. Also, be considerate and give the interviewer plenty of time to ask their questions by ending your answers after a few seconds of response. Sure, you might have more to say, true, but don't. Leave the audience wanting more. And let the host ask you a new question that will give you an opportunity to say more. Let the process work for you. If you try to steal the show, trust me, they'll never ask you back. And you may look like a fool, just bloviating and just firing off all these words. And it's like a big word salad. And no, we know you're excited to respond to the question and show your expertise. But no, keep your answers to 30 seconds. Easily, plus or minus. Yeah. Interview tip number 7. Have your freebie ready and be excited to share it. Don't get interviewed by everyone just for the sake of being interviewed. Your goal for interviewing should be to grow your business or whatever it is that you want to accomplish with this interview and your list of new prospects, besides building credibility and demand for what you have to offer over the course of your career. The way you build your list of prospects when interviewing is to invite your listening audience to take advantage of a freebie you're offering during the interview. Yes, you can get free excerpts of my new book at my website and give them the website. Or get my free report on XYZ and give them the location online, Or call 1-800 or give them the instructions. When you're interviewed, you have the ability to reach hundreds, perhaps thousands of people who really admire and enjoy the hosts who are interviewing you. If you're on their shows, most likely, there's a good chance your audience will like you too. So have a freebie ready to give to the audience. This could be in the form of a free report, e-zine, newsletter, audio program, book excerpt, maybe an entire ebook, a free telecall, a free webinar, a free trial of one of your products or services. Whatever you do, don't offer anything that might cost you money, unless you're giving something away to only a few winners. Otherwise, come up with something like a digital giveaway that you can give access to the masses for listening to your interview. Or if you're going to offer a book, something in print, maybe just have people pay shipping that covers postage and the cost of printing the book, because what you really want is their email address and their phone number. Yeah, that's interview tip number 7. Have a freebie ready and be excited to share it so you can build your list and make sales and make money and all the good stuff. Interview tip number 8. Have your special offer primed, polished, and ready to share in as few words as possible. In addition to having your freebie ready to help build your list of prospects who you can sell to later, you should also plan to have a special offer you can give to the audience who's listening to your interview. For example, the host's name. I'd like your listeners to know that they can get 25% off my new book at my website if they just mention your name. Or if you buy today and mention you heard me on your show, I'll give you a 2-for-1 deal. Buy one of my books and I'll give you a second book absolutely free, plus shipping, of course. Or something similar. Come up with your own special offer and rehearse it. Be prepared to offer it at the end of the show or just before a sponsor or commercial break, if permitted. Make it known and repeat it throughout the show if you can, especially at the end of the show. You can give out special code numbers that give listeners a discount on your products or even a specific product when they go to your website and the shopping cart is asking for, hey, got a coupon code for 20 or 50% off? For example, create different coupon codes per giveaway per show. When people enter in those codes or coupons in the shopping cart, you know where that order came from. Also, make the coupon codes that you create and use on these interviews easy to spell and easy to remember. That's interview tip number 8. Have your special offer primed, polished, and ready to share in as few words as possible. Interview tip number 9. Always slip your website address into the interview conversation subtly and a little indirectly. It goes without saying, always be prepared to slip in your website address during your interview. Well, at mywebsite.com, I mention XYZ123 in a blog article that I wrote. And what it talks about is, or I have more information about that at my website.com. Or you can listen to, read more, or watch videos on this topic at my website, because I know we don't have all the time in the world to talk about this further. Just go to mywebsite.com. You'd be surprised how many authors are interviewed today on big radio and TV stations who do not have, promote, or slip in their website address into the interview conversation subtly and ever so carefully. How do they expect to bring more attention to what it is that they have to offer? When you're being interviewed, you only have a minuscule amount of time to get your message out and all the information you really want to share. In reality, that means in that window of time, you need to cover everything you can that you want to share. So what do? Well, you give out your website where interested listeners can learn more about who you are, your products, your articles, your videos, what more you have to say, but didn't get a chance to finish. Yeah, that's interview tip number 9. Always slip in your website address, just ever so carefully and subtly, into the interview conversation. And just practice doing that, and you'll come across naturally, and when opportunity comes to give out your website in the interview. Interview tip number 10, practice with others who will ask you questions and you answer back. This is very helpful when you're just starting out. Have your list of questions written down and printed out so a friend, a family member, business associate, or colleague can interview you. Practice giving your answers. Keep them short, yet detailed. Ask for constructive feedback from the person who interviewed you. How did you sound? Do you need to come up with more material for a specific question? Do you need to rephrase your answer because it wasn't really complete? Do you need to shorten the response time for specific questions? Record your practice interview so you can then listen to it for constructive suggestions and corrections on how you answer, how long your answers are, etc. Practice makes perfect. So keep practicing to continually improve and master your performance. I'll tell you right now, I've had a lot of my friends and colleagues and customers and clients, they talk about, I'm so scared to get interviewed. I want to do it, but I'm scared. Well, you know what? Treat it like it's your birthday. People want to know about you. They want to know your opinion. Have fun with it. Throw it away. And practice makes perfect. When you have those questions pre-written and you know the answers by heart, because you wrote them out, and then you read them and read them and read them, and you maybe recorded your own interviews and you recorded your answers, and you just go over it and over it and over it and over it. Trust me, this stuff is going to become second nature to you, and you're going to be excited to do the next interview and the next one and the next one. Bring them all on. Bring like 3 to 5 interviews a day. I want to do it. So interview tip number 10 was practice with others who will ask you questions and you answer back. So you can practice what you preach. No, I'm just kidding. So you can practice your interview skills and get better and better. Now, bonus notes, ideas, and material. It's been mentioned before, but remember to send a thank you note to the person who interviewed you. Perhaps they chose to interview you among many others. Show them your appreciation for helping to bring attention to your business or your topic of expertise. And if you made money from being interviewed, sales from the radio or TV or podcast show, don't, and I'm going to repeat that, do not necessarily tell them you made any sales, but do thank them for having you on their show. At a minimum, you owe your appreciation for that. What you don't really sometimes want to do is, and this is just under a number of kind of responses, you don't want to brag about the numbers. You don't want them to feel jealous because you made $1 million on their show and they only got paid, maybe they didn't get paid at all. You don't know. Don't really bring up money when it comes to thanking people in your thank you note. In fact, here is the thank you note that you can write. And you could either do this via email sometimes or, actually, if you have their phone number, you could text them, But also a thank you card is very cool. Nobody does this, anymore. They don't mail anything. But dear host name, I just wanted to write you and say thank you for having me on your show. I had a great time. I hope your audience also loved it and that you too were happy with our interview session. Please think of me the next time you need another guest to help cover this subject that we covered in the interview. Or if you think of another topic you feel I would also be a good interview candidate for, I'm all yours. Just let me know. Oh, and by the way, I'm also posting a link inside my press room at my website to your website or your YouTube channel about the interview. I also hope that it leads to a few more eyes and ears and traffic for you and your show too. Again, thanks so much. All the best. Your name, telephone number, website, email address. And I mentioned it earlier in this book, How to Prepare, Pitch, and Become a TV Guest, that thank you should be noted in the form of a card by U.S. mail. Nobody sends cards anymore, makes you stand out. You might also leave a message on their voicemail saying the same thing. All this just does wonders, because no one else really does it. Nobody takes the time. Nobody's grateful. Nobody's appreciative. Nobody mails anything anymore, especially to say thank you. One way you'll stand out is by taking the time to say thank you, yes. That always makes the host feel great, and it might even get you back on the show again. A good thing. Yes, the last time you were on the show, we talked about what's new and exciting in the field of your topic. And your response, a lot. Let me tell you what's hot. And then you strike that conversation up, and they're like, I remember this guest, this Bart Smith guy. He sent me a thank you card and cookies, his world famous bartscookies.com. I will just never forget him. He was just such a great guest. I will always think of him if I'm in a bind and I don't even have any ideas for a show. I'll just have Bart on and we'll just create a show. Ask the host, co-host, or even the producer if you can get a quick testimonial from them on the phone or via email, or just, rattle something off and then you memorize it, okay? About you being a guest on their show. Did they enjoy you being on their show? Did their audience love you? Did the producer enjoy working with you? Were you a great guest? The answers to these questions in the form of a testimonial on your website and inside your press kit will help you secure your next interview in a flash. Why? Because if one show host likes you, chances are the next one will too. Piggyback one successful interview after the other until you have a pile of interviews stacked up and everyone wants to interview you. Note, if you have a tvguest.com directory profile listing, you can send them to your profile and submit a glowing review about your appearance. How do you like them apples? All right. Hey, this concludes the bonus tvguest.com training report, 10 ways to improve your interview skills right now for TV, radio, podcast, and other show interviews. I hope you got a lot out of it. I know I did when I originally wrote this report like 17 million thousand years ago, because I was wanting to improve my interview skills. And I did so because back in the day, I watched a lot of interviews. I was watching a lot of news programs, day programs, night programs, whatever, listening to radio. And I was just consumed by how the host and the guests worked together, how they fed off each other. Was it a good interview? Was it, like I said, an antagonistic type interview? Did the hosts try to antagonize the guests and make them feel just, well, what do you mean about that? Well, I don't think that's correct. It was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go into that fire, But either way, I love these tips, 10 ways to improve your interview skills right now for TV, radio, podcast, and other show interviews. If you need to, listen to this audio one more time, maybe 3 times, to really just nail it. So you too can give the best interview you ever will, and you'll do it time and time again for every interview going forward right now.